And we are live, everyone, for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by
Seth Weintraub, actually in the same room.
Yes, so we can hit each other now when we have disagreement. It's very useful. Why we're in the same room together is because we are live in Munich for IAA, which is arguably the biggest mobility show in Europe. We've been having a fun time checking out all the new stuff and all the stuff also that we don't have access to see normally in North America. So a lot of the Chinese automakers, for example, are starting to make ways into the European markets, and we never have an opportunity to check them in North America. Now we had, so we're going to discuss that. We had the opportunity to see the Model 3 Highland in person, and I think we're going to start the show with that because I think that's a lot what most people are here for. They want to see, well, we already saw the Model 3 Highland, but our impression in person were a little bit different. And we had a hard time getting sometimes with the Model 3 with Tesla, but they squeezed us in at one point, and we were able to film a quick video that you can see right now on YouTube. It's not the light, like the Tesla is not very used to car shows. They do them sometimes, but not that often.
This is Fred with Electrek, and today we are at IAA in Munich, and we have the opportunity to get a quick first look in person with the new Model 3 refresh, aka the Highland. We only have a few minutes with the car, so we'll do it real quick. Come check it out. First off, we have the front fascia that has been updated. You might not be able to get a great look here because we're in Europe. They have the front license plate, and the Lightning gives it a little bit more curve than it actually has. So it's a much flatter, much sharper look, and the front headlights also thinner, sharper to melt into that more aggressive front fascia right here. If you follow me,
but the front fascia,
the wheels and tires also both got an update.
Very much love
these are new Evo tires that are designed for electric vehicles, supposedly more efficient. We can't wait to have some real-world road test of that and see if we can actually put a number behind this efficiency improvement. The wheels itself are also efficient, though. The design of the open wheel, this new black strip all around the edge of the wheel here helps a lot with aerodynamic performance and ultimately efficiency. The trunk has also been updated.
People that wanted to upgrade from
you see the entire the backlight assembly is on the opening.
That would be a great
the opening itself is a little bit bigger, and the
quick look at the trunk,
I think 2 liter more of trunk space here.
20 liters bigger.
From the inside of the car, the first thing you're going to see the difference are the seats. We have now in the Model 3 new perforated seat for better aeration.
I sat down
can't wait to test these out.
I don't know, a minute. We filmed that
the
video
most
in 4 minutes
change with the updated Model 3 is the steering wheel. The brand new steering wheel, but
of the seats,
the biggest change is what is not there, and those are the
steering wheel. Is
no
the biggest change.
So you have the change signals on the force touch button here, and even the gear selection is different. So now
that's a very
this is a show car. Obviously, I'm not going to change gear, but the change gear is going to happen right here.
Get used to it.
And you have also a bunch of different updates here for the vehicle. The dash has been updated. New materials on the sides here that feels very similar.
Yeah, but that might be Tesla trying to squeeze some gross margin out of the Model S and X.
Light all around the vehicle, from the doors to the dash.
Yoke or no yoke,
and apparently you can change those. They're customizable however you want.
We saw these ambient lights. That's a cool
right
feature
here
that was hidden. I think Tesla's going to
like that. You can control.
You can change them like that. You can see
all the light changing.
I'm sure that with future.
I'm sure Tesla can eventually add some software update that gonna
smart
enable some kind of
interact
intelligent
light,
changing of the light, either with music or whatever. And one of the last things is the new back screen to the back seats.
And obviously the rear screen, the back seat, you have now a screen
air
that you can control the
and you can obviously have also some streaming apps and video games eventually. All right, that's it for a quick look of the Model 3 Highland, Model 3 refresh, however you want to call it. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'm going to see you next time.
It is useful. It is okay, so our audio is not great right now.
It was playing the video. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
So that's over. So we're good.
Okay, sorry about that. Did the comment just showed up? I wasn't seeing the comments before. Thanks to Micah for jumping in at the right time to let us know. Apologize about that. Well, everything I just said anyway, you can go see the actual video if you had issue hearing. you
So now it's muted.
okay, now it's
We'll go through it
muted.
again.
Yeah, we can go it pretty quickly if you, and cut it in the audio maybe, because that's not going to be listenable audio wise. But yeah, what we enjoy in person of this is the like I said, the lighting wasn't great to see the front end, but you're gonna get some good pictures of that anyway. The wheel, I really enjoy the wheels because it gives you both the open wheel look and it's more aerodynamic because of the black strip that goes all around it. I think that's a big improvement. Hopefully, it goes to other Tesla vehicles. Well, mostly the Model Y, I would assume, because Tesla generally don't share wheels between the 3 and Y and S and X. But yeah, and maybe they can even sell them aftermarket. In the back seat, no, sorry, the trunk, we like I said, we didn't have much time with the vehicle. We were really quickly, so I couldn't really assess how much bigger it is or how much bigger it feels. But in metrics, it's apparently like 20 liter more. Yeah, the front seat, again, no time with them. We sat in it for half a second, so I couldn't really assess how much more comfortable they are. But you have the perforated seat, which is obviously a big upgrade for the Model 3. When you sit in that seat, now you can get a very good idea of what the biggest change, which is the steering wheel. Just like Model S and X, no stalk anymore. Everything goes to force touch buttons, or ideally, if everything goes well, everything goes through autonomously because of every input is an error for Tesla. Every driver input, everything should be completely autonomous. Okay, and also we have the dashboard itself has been changed. Still very much minimalistic, but minimalist, but with some upgrade, especially with the materials that now fit into the doors, and the materials basically feel exactly like the seats. At least for the white version, we haven't seen the black version, and obviously the ambient light that you're seeing right now, which are smart light that you can control. We think that Tesla would eventually release some kind of smart features that could match the music or things like that. That would be interesting. We know that Tesla likes to keep some things up their sleeve and release them through software updates. Finally, you have the screen in the back seat, which you can use for climate controls. You can use for entertainment apps. You see Netflix, YouTube, Twitch, and Disney Plus was already on there. Tesla tutorials also. I think the backseat screen is pretty good, especially for the controls. For the entertainment stuff, I think it's pretty small, and the position center, I don't know how useful it is. Like, for sure, if you have an iPad on your lap, it's going to be much easier than this. But it's still good to have. It's also not an option. It's like it's going to be there anyway if you like the Model 3. So yeah, overall impression of the update. I was already a fan of the update. I know it's not the biggest update. It's a refresh. It's still very much a Model 3. It's now just a little bit more aggressive looking on the exterior. I think in the interior, they double down on the minimalist approach, which works for me. The only thing that is questionable for me with this update is the stalks. But as we were talking when we were talking double audio earlier, this is something I think that Tesla fans, Tesla potential buyers, current Tesla owners looking to upgrade, it's something that you're just gonna have to deal with.
You don't think they're gonna backtrack on that at all?
It would be weird for them to backtrack after doing the Model S and X, the flagship vehicle, going with that. Obviously, there was the Yoke thing at the same time, so it was kind of forced down our throat with the Yoke. We had the Yoke to deal with, so we had some controversy about the Yoke purely on the shape and with the lack of stock at the same time. Yeah. Now they have definitely walked back on the Yoke, but they seem to be doubling down on the no stock. Obviously, this is clear why Tesla is doing that. Tesla is doing that because they are highly confident about their self-driving approach. They think everything's going to be self-driving before you know it, which we are skeptical about that if you've been following our coverage of this. But if it does happen, and Tesla did the right move. But if it still lags and the timeline still slips for years, you have a car that it's a suboptimal solution. Not for everyone. I know a lot of people are happy with it. A lot of we're talking to motorcyclists, which are used to gear chains in that way. That's not like a stock or anything like that. So there's positive to it, but if I gauge the people's reaction, it seems like most people are not that happy with that change.
Yep. I agree. But overall, a good update.
I think a good update. And from what I'm hearing from the people at the show, it looks like there was a good reception. Online is different. Online, I see like almost a 50-50 split. But I don't know. I think it's a mostly positive update.
Yeah, I mean, bigger trunk, more aerodynamic, more range, or more perceived range. Cool stuff inside, like the LED lighting. I think better overall look, front and back. I think that the lights are cooler. So yeah, like I'm on board. I like it. I think the stocks are probably going to be something that we can live without eventually.
Yeah. So David said that we're talking over the video. Was that doing that again the second time?
Yeah, that he just came in late. So
okay.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, another thing that was unveiled. Well, sometimes they don't unveil on the sideline, and then we see them for the first time at the show. That was the new ID GTI concept. Very much a concept. We took a look in person yesterday at the show. It was not the red one, the red vehicle that you see there. At the show, wasn't that impressed by it. It looks very concepty. I almost prefer those pictures here of that VW release. It looks a little bit more advanced. So it's a GTI that's all electric based on the ID platform. They say that it's based on the ID, ID2 all, that's they call it. Like they changed the name of that car like half a dozen times. It used to be
smaller,
it used to be the ID Life, ID2, now it's ID all. We know it as like the cheapest entry level ID vehicle. Is supposed to be around $25,000, $30,000. Well, with inflation, everything changed. Like when they announced that, I don't remember when they announced it exactly, but you can always expect a little bit more. And you're gonna have a little bit more power, a little bit bigger, but not like different really, because I think it's shorter but wider and higher, but by inches. Like we're talking 1 or 2 inches in each instance. So it's not. It's gonna be very much a GTI. They call it a subcompact.
Yeah, and in Europe it's a B segment car.
Yeah.
So it's going to be small for sure. Like it's going to be short, but it's going to be it's going to be more of a sports car than a typical B segment car.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, it's something that we've been asking for a long time. This is segments. The subcompacts, compact segments is an underserved segment right now in the electrification. Especially in North America. So one of the things we ask is like, is this thing coming to North America? Because obviously the ID.3 we were excited about never made it to the North American market. They are like skating around the question. Like it's like, oh, it would be a great car for North America, huh? Like it's just they don't want to confirm it or anything. And in Europe, it's not coming until 2027, I think.
Yeah, it's really far out. And this is kind of a theme here, where we go to every booth and they're like, oh, 2028, 20, and we just want to grab them and just make this now.
Yeah.
Like, you should have planned this way earlier.
Yeah. But that's one of the good things about the show, though, because we were there. Like, they do IAA every 2 years. So 2 years ago when we came, there was a lot higher percentage of gasoline-powered vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
It was still a mostly electric show, but people were still like trying to push some hybrids, some fully internal combustion engine vehicles. This year it was like 99% all electric.
Yeah, in fact, when we saw a gas engine, we're always like, oh wow, there's one of those like steam things.
Yeah, it felt like it was a reversal of the days. Why did my Siri pop up right now? Like that makes no sense. Sorry about that, guys. Siri's trying to chime into the show. So yeah, it felt like when you go to a car show in like 2013, and like every time you see an electric car, you're like, oh wow, an electric car right there. Now it was the other way around. Every time you see a gasoline car, it's like, oh wow, there's still a gasoline car. That thing still exists. It was pretty funny.
Oh, and a commenter says the original GTI didn't have a direct injection. The I stands for injection, which is the basic manifold injection. It's kind of like the Porsche Taycan turbo.
Yeah, the turbocharged.
We're using words correctly anymore, but I also think this is a great car. I can't believe that we're gonna have to wait like 5 years to get it though.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable that it takes them this long to figure out that people are going to want this thing.
Yeah, especially since they had the ID.3 since.
Yeah, and they could just probably make
years.
it on that platform, or make a ID.3 GTI or whatever.
But it's probably pricing wise that they were basing this on the ID All. That's going to be cheaper, so it's going to sit between the ID All and the ID.2 All. Sorry, it's complicated, and the ID.3 in terms of pricing, I think, and size really.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, let's move on to the next story. That's another concept that was unveiled at IAA. It's the BMW Vision Neue Klasse, which is very much a concept. They are using it to showcase some of their latest electric technology. They do talk about the production version. Eventually, it's going to become a I model from the BMW. But what they unveiled this week was very much concept. However, there's another new class concept that they teased this week, an SUV version that looked a lot more production ready, but it was like all camouflage and everything, so it's not and also no specs whatsoever. Did they release specs on this one though, on the Vision one?
I don't think much, if any.
Yeah, but even if they did, like it's still very much concept, because I don't expect that thing for also like 2027, something like that.
I mean, I think what I like about this most is that BMW isn't being precious with their like beaver tooth front. They're kind of expanding that out. It's still the grill-ish thing, but it looks so much better than those big like beaver teeth front.
Yeah, they've been like transitioning to that, with the i7 being closer to this, but still, like you're right, this is also an evolution. Like now they are higher up and longer. So yeah. I mean, some people love the beaver teeth. Some people love the new version, the i7, i5. But to be honest, I'm not sure about this one, because like now the grill almost melts into the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably on purpose. And I don't know. I like this one. I think it looks a little bit like almost like a 70s car, like a 70s American car, maybe, like one of those old Dodge Charger. Something or other, a little bit.
Yeah,
but also a little bit like a Polestar too. A little, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that too.
So I like this direction. The inside is obviously probably pretty far from what we'll end up seeing at the end, but you never know. I mean, this looks a little bit. It kind of reminds me a little bit of ID.4 inside a little bit. Maybe it's just the color, but yeah,
the color tone is something that Volkswagen has used. Almost looks like the outside two-tone of an ID Buzz.
Yep.
But yeah, it's another concept. This is the part that we like a little bit less about these shows. Like you see a lot of cars that they're like, this is not really what's gonna end up on the market. So it's not what we get most excited about. Like we were excited about seeing the Model 3 the first time in person. And then we were also excited. We can talk a little bit about that. We haven't written an article on this because this happened literally like a few hours ago. But we got to see the Chinese automakers a little bit. Actually, I do have a post in there about that at the end. It's the XPeng's expansion. So XPeng was at a decent presence here at IAA because they're announcing European expansion if you go down a little bit, in Germany, France, and the UK is also coming, I think, in Britain next year in 2024. And they had their lineup here at IAA, and we got to test out the G9.
G9, I believe. Or something 9. It was an SUV.
Yeah, the G9, I think it was. And I didn't drive it. You drove it.
Yep.
What did you think about the driving experience?
So it actually felt pretty good. Felt light. We didn't get to go on any. We were on the Autobahn for a little bit, but we didn't really get to push it too hard.
No.
There was
120. We went over 120.
There was like one small spot where we didn't have a speed limit, and of course they have a driver with us. One thing that was kind of disconcerting is the hood. I don't know if you noticed this, but the hood was like
when you told them, I like lift up the camera a little bit and try to get a look, and I could see a little bit what you were saying, but
it was just a little disconcerting that the hood, which is apparently aluminum, was like bobbling up and down a little bit with the wind, especially at the higher speeds. Obviously that's fixable. You got to reinforce that with steel or something. I don't know. But the drive was pretty good. Like, I don't know, felt super solid. I would say probably not like German car solid, but
but it's not too far behind. That's the thing. It's not
and the price is like half the price.
Yeah, it's half the price, and the interior, like again, there's something a little bit off in terms of quality versus what you're used to.
That's a good way to describe it.
In the luxury segment in Europe and in the US, but it's not far enough to justify the price difference. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's good enough that you're like, oh, okay, with the price difference, they have a place in the market. Because feature-wise, even though, like I said, it's the quality-wise that I feel it's just a little bit off. Feature-wise, it was like stacked with everything. Even the voice assistant was like pretty good with the directional mics. Micah was sitting to my left in the back, and he had a request with the voice assistant, and it fulfilled that request. Like he wanted his.
That was cool.
He's a little princess, and he wanted his back massage in the back. And the driver, that was a test driver, asked for to change the mode to sport mode, I think it was, or
sport mode. But he also wanted the ventilated seats.
Yeah. But then the voice assistant detected that's like, oh, you're not the driver because you're on the right side, so no, you're not. You cannot change the sport mode. Then Seth requested it in the driver's seat, and it did change. Then the test driver requested, like you said, the ventilated seat, and that worked. It was really impressive. In the back was super comfortable with adjustable seat leg support in the back. Like I said, it's just a tiny little bit off in quality, but packed with features that work very well.
Yep. And it was kind of cool. The interface, like we kind of give them some ribbing because they kind of took Tesla's UI, but they did it well, I guess. And I mean, what did you think of the UI?
I think the UI, like, it used to be a lot closer to Tesla. I think they got a little bit shamed into like, okay, we'll move a little bit away from that. It's still very much Tesla inspired. And I mean, you look at the autopilot settings, it's exactly all the same settings, which makes sense to a degree. Like you would have similar settings for sure. But the UI, I think, evolved a little bit different than Tesla. But I think feature-wise, it might be more packed than Tesla at this point. It's like it's impressive.
Yeah, and I have to wonder like how much the U.S. tariffs are like keeping these things out of the U.S.
Yeah,
I mean, the only thing that keeping these things out, because I think there's a 27% tariff on Chinese cars. So, and obviously they don't get the $7,500 tax credit. So these things would be quite expensive in the U.S. or probably relatively expensive. But here in Europe, they're competing quite well, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here and see how the U.S. kind of adjust to that. So we did not get a chance to drive the BYD.
Yeah,
we were going to do the seal.
Shut down. We're a little bit late for the test drive, and they wouldn't let us in. I mean, we'll take this one. We were a bit late. We were running around all over the place here. But BYD came out also with a nice lineup this year at IAA. They had, I think, like 6 different models. Though some of them, like it's just like the upgraded version of a existing model. But the Seal looked very nice. The Dolphin looked very nice. They have a similarly competitive lineup as XPeng. Maybe not as luxurious as XPeng, but certainly better pricing too. And I mean, I would like to say better quality or better like consistency in quality, but we didn't have the chance to test out the car just yet. But we came out, at least on my side, I can say that I came out of IAA with a lot more respect for the Chinese automakers.
Yep.
And they're going to be more on the radar, I think, going forward. Because, I mean, even Elon Musk said it, like he sees the Chinese competitor as a bigger competitor than a lot of the legacy automakers. And I can see why. I can see, like, especially like with the history and with XPeng being heavily inspired by Tesla. You would think like the copycats, it's like, oh, a poor copy normally. Like this time, it's like, oh, they took a lot of what's best about Tesla and then had it on top of it, a few cool things. So yeah, they better watch out, I think.
Absolutely. And so what other Chinese manufacturers were here that we
I mean, we saw this new one, Aventor, something like that, right next to the Lucid one.
Oh yeah, it was like Avatar or something.
Yeah,
it
was
Avatar.
Yeah, the Avatar. We didn't even know what it was. We wandered in and we couldn't get inside the cars, though, so it wasn't, and we couldn't test drive them. But
yeah, I don't even think they were cars. They were kind of just like designed.
Yeah, they might have been working prototypes. We could see the steering wheel, though, which was completely rip-off of Tesla's old Model 3 steering wheel. Model 3 before the update with the scrolls was exactly the same wheel. But yeah, and it looked pretty. To me, what it looked like if XPeng was a copy of Tesla, then this is a copy of XPeng. So it felt like a twice removed Tesla copy, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were quite a few. Leap motor was there. Yeah, the Chinese are coming. They're coming for that EV market in Europe, and I think that eventually
they're going to get some of it.
Yeah. Okay, we can go back maybe to the Tesla news with a few more Tesla items I want to discuss. Oh yeah, the Yoke steering wheel that we discussed a little bit earlier. Lack of stock, but the actual Yoke shape that is available on Model S and X is now $1,000, which is interesting because it used to be standard. It used to be the only option in the Model S and X when the refresh first launched, which was surprising to us because like when it happened, we thought that Tesla wouldn't do that without having a steer-by-wire system and some type of progressive steering. But no, like it's a regular, like I don't know what the ratio is, like 14:1 is the 01 is the ratio, which is a regular steering wheel. So it makes it awkward in those like tight parking situation. Though the part of the car is supposed to park itself, but you know what I mean. If you're in a parking lot and you have to do some quick turning, it's not an ideal situation. But they still launched it anyway. Then they started backtracking a little bit with introducing a round steering wheel for the Model S and X. Which became optional, so you can either get the round one or the Yoke one for the same price. Then they switched it up where it was $250 option to get the Yoke wheel and the round wheel became standard. And now they switched it again. Well, not switch it, but increase the difference with $1,000 for the Yoke. So there's different ways you can approach this. You can see it as them like backing away from the Yoke. But with the timing of the big price drop that we discussed last week, with Tesla just slashing the price of the Model S and X by like $30,000, it might be more about Tesla trying to capitalize on. Well, I hear it's like pretty popular. I don't have the take rate on it, but apparently a lot of people want that Yoke when they get into the Model S and X. So maybe Tesla is trying to capitalize on that and getting some of that gross margin back from the big price drop by getting $750 more out of the Yoke.
Maybe that's how they should have come out with this in the beginning, as the Yoke with $1,000 upgrade.
Normally, that's what you do with a new feature, like with a premium feature or something like that. So. But I think that Tesla was like trying to see, can we just force that thing down their throat, like that Yoke? And then there was a strong pushback, so they're like, all right, we will let you get a round one. And then as they get a round one, maybe they start getting the data. They're like, all right, actually, the most people want the Yoke. And then like, let's make some money off of that.
And how much is the upgrade to steering wheel if you bought a Yoke? Isn't that something?
I know that when it launched, it's in the article, when it launched, it was like $700. Yeah, $700 when it launched. I don't know if it's still the case. I haven't checked the pricing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's not cheap, especially now that it's standard.
I wonder if they're going to ever launch a Yoke for the Model 3 or Model Y.
I would assume so at some point, but I mean, the argument is not great right now because the argument that Elon had is like, oh, it's better visibility for that instrument cluster that you have on the Model S, which you don't have on Model 3 and Y. So I think that they should wait for the steer-by-wire system where they can do a progressive turning system in the steering wheel. I think that would make sense.
And then what's the latest on the Cybertruck? Is that getting a Yoke or?
I mean, the rumor is that it is gonna be steer-by-wire. So if it is, it should at least be an option, I think. But we've seen several different wheels on the Cybertruck prototypes. We've seen the round ones. We've seen Yoke ones, and then we've seen like halfway Yoke ones where you still have a top part, but it is square. I don't know if you can call that a Yoke though.
Maybe there'll be more than one option.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do that. What we suggested as the standard steering wheel, and then the Yoke as an upgrade or something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, the last piece of news about Tesla I want to discuss, it's a light one. It's just a fun one to finish with. It's kind of a dumb news, but I think it's funny. So let's discuss it real quick. So Tesla on Weibo announced, Weibo is like a Twitter for China, the Chinese version of Twitter. They announced that they have a partnership with McDonald's where they are producing a Cybertruck inspired spoon for the McFlurry. So if you ever had a McFlurry, it comes with a spoon in it because they use a spoon to move around the crunchy Oreo parts or whatever kind of McFlurries you're getting into the ice cream. Which, if you're on with me on that, it sounds pretty dumb what I just said. So dumb that Elon. So when the news made it from Weibo to X, Elon commented on X, calling it fake news. What's AFAIK?
As far as I know.
Okay, well, as far as I know, he was wrong because it is on the official Weibo account. It is on the official McDonald's account, and Chinese Tesla owners are already reporting placing orders. So this looks like a very real thing, but it's so dumb that even Elon was like, "This is fake news," and it's not. It's not fake news. And as soon as he realized that it was not fake news, he turned around real quick. Where he was like, "Oh, actually, I'll get one of those." Like,
right.
So, I mean, I'm taking this pretty lightly, to be honest. Like, some people are saying, like, "Oh, this is Elon being disconnected with Tesla, that he didn't even know that this was real and it was real." I don't necessarily expect the CEO of a company being up to date with every single little promotional tactic that the company has.
Especially if he's doing like 3 to 5 companies.
Yeah, that certainly that doesn't help. But I don't think so that has been happening for a long time. I don't think anything that is proof that anything has changed. Not to say that anything hasn't changed, because it could have, but I don't think that's proof of it. I just like he was not up to date with that. And Tesla China has been doing their own thing for a while now in terms of marketing, like and in terms of like special accessories. I mean, I think this one is the dumbest yet by far. Like a $4 spoon for McFlurry just come with a spoon already. So like it's basically the price. You're doubling the price of the McFlurry with that spoon. But anyway, the Tesla China launched like the Cyber Vault, if you remember, like kind of case for a wall connector that looks like a Cybertruck. The microphone for in-car karaoke. That's also like a Tesla China only product. So they've been known to launch their own products like that. All right, let's move on from Tesla news to a few non-Tesla news items, and then we can jump into the comment section. I know we lost quite a few of you guys because of the beginning of the video. We apologize. Like we are using this traveling setup right now, so we screwed up the video at the beginning. We're gonna see what we can do about the non-live version, if we can crop that out. Apologies again. But yeah, if you guys have questions for us, any subjects you want us to discuss, you can put in the comment section right now. We're going to get to them in like 5 minutes or so after we get through these few news items, starting with the Kia EV5. We have more video of more images of the interior and exterior of the car that is launching it in China only for now. And
I'm going to play the video, but it's going to be muted. So hopefully I'm not playing sound here.
Yeah,
it's a good looking car. We saw the EV9 today. That's a big car.
This is like a shrunk up version of it.
This is like the mini version of it.
Yeah, a non-third row version of it. I mean, it could be a competitor in like the crossover segment too, like competing with the Mach-E, with the Tesla Model Y. When it comes to those markets too, because right now it's China only. And the good thing about what we learned from it, from the China launch, is that it's going to be quite cheap. Couldn't even believe the pricing. We're going to have to go, I'm sorry, to the articles to see it, because I don't remember it by heart, but
let's see.
I think at the bottom of it, there was the pricing. Okay, yeah.
36,000.
No, that's the Model Y. 22,
what?
So 160,000 yuan, which is about $22,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insanely low. But so that's the Chinese price in China. Right now, Kia is only talking about producing it in China, but they're talking about exporting it to other markets. Again, don't expect it to make it to North America. I would assume that eventually it's going to make it to North America through other means of production, but
hopefully made in Kia's. Would they have a Where's their plant?
Yeah, I don't know where.
I mean, Hyundai has a plant in the south somewhere.
Yeah, and they do share it, I would assume. They produce some Kia models.
Yeah, and they're going to be EGMP vehicles.
So a new vehicle, a new electric vehicle in the very popular small SUV / crossover segment, whatever you want to call it. It looks just like a shrunk up EV9.
Yeah, it's a good looking vehicle. All right.
Moving on, we have an updated 2024 VW ID.4, which supposedly has greater range, though they haven't released the range yet. It's going to be enabled to a new 82 kilowatt-hour usable capacity battery pack, which is up a few percentage points from the old one. Again, rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive version available. They haven't released the range on that new 82 kilowatt-hour version. We expect it's going to be a little bit higher, though the energy capacity improvement is going to be countered a little bit by more power. So now you have the rear-wheel drive at 282 horsepower, and the all-wheel drive version is going to be 330 horsepower, which, if you're familiar with the ID.4, one of the complaints, if there haven't been too many complaints, but one of them has been the power output. So this is going to be an improvement over that.
Right. So it used to be 295 and now it's 330. So 10% or more than 10% increase.
Yeah. Other than that, you have a new 12-inch display. 12.9 versus 12-inch.
More intuitive climate control interface and revised infotainment menu. I mean, I think this all kind of centers around the software and the user interface, which VW has been getting hammered for. So, especially early days in the ID.4, it was pretty bad. So So it's good to see them coming around here.
They got some momentum out of it with updates, but now with the 2024 version, I'm sure that they're going to try to start a little bit stronger.
Ventilated front row seats, we love those. The S Plus models will have premium hard-encoded audio, 9 speakers, subwoofer, 16-channel amplifier. Wheel size, the ID.4 standard all-wheel drive models, 20-inch aluminum alloy wheels. I think these are probably the same. And of course, no pricing.
Closer pricing and range closer to the launch in 2024.
Yeah. So that's good improvement. All right.
Moving on, we have a little sell update on the Mustang Mach-E, which has had its up and down this year. Early in the year, recalls and all that production stop was harder on the popular crossover, electric crossover. But now there's been some momentum lately with production ramping up to around the 13,000 unit range per month since May. And now that's production. And sell-wise, so the sales update, if you scroll down a little bit, we have the actual numbers on the sales. A big upgrade to 61% up year over year last month in August with 5,000 units delivered. So there's still a big discrepancy between sales and production. Something to keep an eye on for sure. But like I said, production just started getting some momentum. So it makes sense that the cars make it from Mexico to the US and to the dealership and all that. It takes a while. So while there may be potential sales issue with the Mach-E, like there is for most vehicles these days, just because of the macroeconomic situation, we're seeing a little bit of momentum here out of the Mach-E. That's good to see.
Also, some news from the e-transit world. They had the record month in August with 889 units sold. I would have thought more by now, but that's up 120% for the month. And then Ford F-150 Lightning slipped 75% year over year in August. Ford tells Electrek that F-150 Lightning production is starting to ramp after a 6-week shutdown to expand the Rouge Electric Vehicle Center with limited deliveries across July and August. So they're blaming that on a factory shutdown.
Which is true, but at the same time, we're also seeing some significant price cuts this year on the F-150 Lightning. So there's arguments also that there's been some sales issues at the same time.
Yeah, and the American automaker says that the Rouge EV facility is going to triple production as it targets 150,000 run rate by this fall. So that should be pretty good.
Yeah, they've been aiming for that for a while now.
Yeah, we have a comment. Andrew C says, "Are you guys hearing anything about the reliability, quality of the Ford Lightning now that they've been out for a bit?" I've heard mostly good things personally. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, it's been the big recall, so yeah, I don't know if you put that in the reliability, quality issues. There's been some issue at charging too that we heard, especially at the beginning, but nothing that is like frequent like that. Like you can get a lemon like any car, obviously, or trucks, but so far we've been, there's no big red flags at least, but it's still very early. Normally you start seeing like reliability, quality issues come out. Well, quality you can see right away, but reliability issues, give it a few years before you get some good data out of it. Especially like a first year of production, Lightning was very low production. It's just now like 150,000 units by the end of the year or this fall. You're going to see some volume starting to come next year.
Yeah, most of the complaints I hear about it are from people who don't really understand how electric vehicles work, and then they don't go far enough, or they don't know how to charge right, and they go to level 2 chargers and it takes 16 hours to charge.
Yeah, it's a big battery pack. You have to take those things into account. Like, yeah.
But like all the complaints I see on like YouTube or in like on Fox News that this F-150 is horrible. So,
yep.
Are we still there?
What just happened?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Looks to back.
All right.
Sorry about that. Let's move on to the next piece of news, which is about Lucid. So there was an interview this week with Lucid CEO Peter Rawlinson. Just maybe make sure that the audio is good. Since we entered back to the studio, I just want to make sure we're back on the same audio settings. Go see here, and then go settings. Oh yeah, that's right. It's going to be on here. My bad. Just make sure real quick. Yeah, we're good. Sorry about that. So Peter Rawlinson, CEO of Lucid, which if you've been listening to the news lately, he was in the news because of his salary.
Huge salary.
Yeah, huge stock award of $300 million worth of stock that he received. But anyway, he expertly managed to divert from that news with the announcement that, well, it's not, I mean, it was kind of a duh announcement. Like, obviously, Lucid is going to do that, but he confirmed that the next series of vehicles, so right now they have the Air, luxury sedan, Gravity coming, luxury SUV, and that the next generation is going to be a $50,000 vehicle, which I think the exact quote is that, if you go down a little bit, the exact quote is, "We are targeting a price, and don't hold me to this." So that's a good old like Elon Musk type of comment. Around $50,000. That's the Vision. Yeah. Right in the art of the Tesla Model 3 Model Y territory. So that's his own quote here. But obviously the language is kind of is not the strongest language. Like Vision, don't hold me to this. It's not what I call strong news, to be honest.
No.
But it's also kind of obvious. Like obviously, Lucid. Yeah, another part of that's interesting quote. If you go up a little bit before that, he said, "Where is it?"
Is that part?
Yeah. So that is exactly why I go to work. I'm not here to build an expensive car that only rich people can afford. That the only way I could make the business, so the premium product, like the expensive car for the rich, that's the only way I could make the business work financially. So that's kind of an interesting comment, because you could make the argument that the business doesn't work financially right now because they are losing money, gross margin wise, and with operating expenses on those luxury vehicles right now. I'm not super worried about it because I think the product is great. We actually went last night and saw Lucid. They had the launch of their midnight edition here in Munich of the Air. So it's still an Air sedan, which I think is a great car that they have great technology in it. Like we know the big range, like that's a big marketing point that they have. They have a 500-mile version. It's over 800 kilometers of WLTP here. Which actually in Germany, they have some argument to make it. We're not big here on Electrek with huge range. We think like sometimes it's just, you're just carrying a big battery around for nothing, because most of the time you just use a small percentage of that and then you charge overnight. So you don't really need it. You need it for like the long distance travel you do every few months or whatever, and then even then, normally you're gonna want to stop after a few hundred miles and charge to stretch your legs and go to the bathroom and whatnot. Here in Germany, they have the great Autobahn that in some section doesn't have any speed limits, which is awesome. But with an electric car or any other car, it is less efficient to go at high speed.
Much less
efficient. So with an electric car, that has a bigger impact if it has a shorter range. But with a Lucid, if you already have 800 kilometers of range, and yeah, you're gonna go through it a lot faster, but you still have a ton of range. So we were talking to a Lucid salesman there, and they said that they tested it at, what did he say, 160 kilometers an hour, I think he said?
I think it was 160 miles an hour. It was like...
Oh, no, I was talking kilometers an hour.
Kilometers?
It was Germany.
Okay. So this is...
Well, 160 is fast. Like 160 is...
100-something miles per hour.
Yeah, close to around 100 miles per hour here, which you don't do in U.S. roads unless you're a maniac or you don't care about very expensive tickets. Are the tickets in the U.S. based on how much speed over the limit?
It depends on the state.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I know in Canada, in Quebec, that would be like a crazy ticket. Probably lose your license. Anyway, he said that they managed to do 100. I think it was 600 kilometers that they did 160 kilometers an hour, which that is impressive, and that justifies a little bit more the having a crazy long range on the car if you're going to use it often on the Autobahn, for example. So that's very much a very German problem, obviously. But so coming back to what I was saying about Lucid, they have some great technology. Just look at their drivetrain, look at their battery pack. It's very nice, small, light design. And it just so happened that they use that technology in the Air first, which is having some issues selling in the US right now, their main market.
High prices.
Yeah, again, microeconomics problem, high prices and all that.
Model S Plaid dropping in price.
Yeah, a lot of competition in that segment, like the i7 from BMW, the IQS. There's a lot of competition in that segment, and Lucid is a new brand. And I would argue that they have a lot of advantages over those brands in a lot of features, but it's a tough market to get into. They have the Gravity coming soon, going to be unveiled at the end of the year, coming next year. That is obviously going to be easier to sell in the US. It's a big SUV and all that. But all that same technology is going to come to that SUV, and then it's going to come to also the lower price version that he's talking about here, the 50,000 version. So I think they're well set up to have a successful company here. They just need to survive this tough time of losing money on the Air right now, which I think they might be able to do with that Saudi money coming.
Yeah, I mean, they just kind of have to outrun it. And we talked to an executive last night at the party. And by the way, thank you, Lucid, for inviting us to your midnight party. Although we only stayed till 10, I think. But you know, they're kind of looking toward that, and that's done. Like they're done designing that. They're just like
he said that was the Derek Jenkins is the chief designer, and he says, pencil down on this. The Gravity is ready, at least on spec wise, design wise. He said he expected to be the most aerodynamic SUV out there, which Lucid has already proven some skills in aerodynamic performance with the Air. They're going to try to transfer that to an SUV, which is obviously a little bit more difficult. But yeah, also third row. There's going to be a lot of cool things about the Gravity, I think. And we're going to eventually see that into most likely like a smaller, cheaper sedan and crossover. I think they're going to like right now they're doing a lot like Tesla, like the Air is the equivalent of Model S, the Gravity equivalent of the Model X. I think they would be smart to maybe skip the Model 3 and go directly to Model Y and do a crossover.
For sure.
Tesla has proven a lot of success with the Model Y.
Yeah, there's just so much more demand there. It's such a bigger market. That said, everybody's got a Model Y out, so maybe change the game a little bit. All right, let's move on.
We talked about XPeng in a bit. And BMW, when we talked about earlier, the Vision Neue Klasse. Then there's the Vision Neue Klasse SUV that they teased this week with a. Is that the only image that they released? I think it might be.
Yeah,
so that's the only image, but the fact that it's camouflage is almost like a good sign. Like it's normally it's closer to production.
Pretty far along. Yeah.
But I think they have said though that so this one is actually going to debut next year, and the production version is going to come after the sedan one that we saw earlier. They talk about more range. They talk about 30% more range than the iX3, which would mean 270 miles, almost 600 kilometers. So that's WLTP.
Right.
But yeah, it would be welcome. The iX3 was very much like, I know it's technically the 5th generation electric powertrain from BMW, but it felt late, the iX3, in terms of the actual performance versus what was on the market. So the new class is the next generation of electric vehicles from BMW, and
it's like Saved by the Bell, new class. So like, not really a new class. Anyway,
but it is like, it is for the cheaper version, the cheaper, the more entry level, I think, BMW, because when you go to the i5 and i7, these are more fully fledged vehicles, I think, than the iX3 was.
Yeah, I mean, and so I wonder, how is this going to compare or live with like the iX? It's going to be a little bit bigger than the iX, maybe, or is this more of a shooting brake sedan, wagon? How do you see this in their lineup?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks like a mid-size SUV, maybe crossover.
Yeah, and I guess the iX would be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I think the iX is going to be bigger and more expensive.
All right. So our comment section this time was a little bit broken up. So at the beginning, we got a few comments, and then we were talking about the audio over the audio. So we'll just hit those real quick. We got a hello from Brunswick, Canada.
New Brunswick, Canada.
New Brunswick. Sorry, not Old Brunswick. Yeah. And then let's see. We got a Facebook comment. Why is no one making a $25,000 entry-level electric vehicle in North America? BYD has multiple vehicles at or below this price point in China.
A lot of people have vehicles below that price point in China.
Right.
But we discussed that a little bit earlier, where import duties right now from China to the US doesn't make this very much viable. I don't think that's going to change. And to be honest, like, it's hard to make an argument for it to change, because China does the exact same thing on their way. So like, it's both have protectionist approach right now. So like, they just, until no one budges, I don't see anything happening on that front. Obviously, Volkswagen has talked about vehicles in that price range. Tesla has talked about vehicles in that price range. Them coming to the US is likely, but these are next generation vehicles. From the VW side, they're talking about 2025, but that 2025 is probably Europe. If it comes to North America, it's going to come later. Maybe they're going to have to set up shop also in America to do it. I mean, VW already has Tennessee, but it's probably going to need to be another plan for that. Just like Tesla has Gigafactory Mexico that is supposed to produce that next generation cheaper, but that is behind schedule right now too. So don't hold your breath on that. Even if everything like flies, like it's Shanghai did, with like 9 months from groundbreaking to production, you're still right now in late 2024, most likely.
Best case scenario.
Yeah, safely 2025, I think. So it's around that time. Also, like, I want people to keep in mind, like, I don't know about your situation, Gregan, but do you buy new cars? Because like the new car price in the US right now is insane. Like $25,000 cars, it's not a thing anymore. Like the average, last time we checked, was $48,000 was the average sell price of a new car in the US.
I think that's come down a little bit, but
maybe
45. And even like Toyota Corollas are in the high 30s. They start there. So it, like, what is a $25,000 car anymore? It's like I don't even know what one is, but I do know that the Chevy Bolt was going for $26,500, and you could get $7,500 cash back, and those are still available and they're still being made. Maybe
and the Model 3 in a lot of markets in the US, if you're in Colorado, if you're in New York and in California, these are basically $25,000 cars for the base version.
Yep, and then you get the electric versus gas savings and all the other stuff. So,
when you add the gas saving, now you're in completely different game. Like most EVs out there are starting to be affordable. So then we have a lot of people complaining about the sound. Again, we're very sorry about that. That's on us.
right.
We discussed that one already. Yeah. And Lucid can have a vision to land on a gaseous
planet. I'm not sure what that means, but
we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take that as the end of the comments.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate for those who would tune in for the special episode. We know it's not usually our Friday episode at 4 p.m. Eastern time because it's later here in Germany. It's our last day at IAA, but we're gonna see you back on Friday, not this week, but next week at our usual time.